Live from a Zoom video call in our individual homes, this is the Podworm Spacecast. The Podworms are 7 lifelong friends who, just like the start to 2020, are going to take you on a crazy ride. Welcome to the Spacecast.
Podworm Spacecast.
Well, hey everybody. Hi, hello. Welcome back to the Podworm Spacecast. So excited to join you. Wow, this is a rusty start to the start of 2020
It's like
here.
you've never done a podcast before.
It's like I haven't done a podcast in about a month, which is accurate. Welcome to the podcast.
In this decade.
This is the first
Hey, that's a
Podworm Spacecast
controversy
of
we're
the
going to have
decade.
to clear up in this episode is whether this is actually the beginning of the decade.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't know that was a controversy. Is that like a flat Earth kind of controversy where it's not really a controversy?
Yes, because it's like, there's the folks that say that 2020 is the start of the beginning of the decade, and then there's the folks that say, no, it's actually 2021. That's the first year of the new decade.
I guess it depends if you're asking like a programmer, because it would start with a 0 and not a 1.
Oh, good point. I didn't think of the programmer angle.
But it did start with a 0.
Yeah, so it's indexed at 0, so this is the new decade.
All right, well,
In this Podworm's opinion, at least.
we asked a programmer, and we got our answer.
Hey, well, let's leave this salacious programming chat for after the show. Let me introduce you to the guys on the show today. We have one half of the Deadly Brother duo. It's Kevin McCoy.
Deadly Brother Roll Call into the Deadly Brother Roll Call.
And we have our little buddy, Jim Charters.
Hey, I'm just happy to be here after just the wild ride of 2020.
And I'm happy for you to be here, Jim. And I am the low-hanging fruit, Andrew LeClaire. We are so excited to be back. It's been a few weeks away. We went down to the episode bank, and we banked some episodes for you guys. And so we've been just riding that high for the last few weeks while we enjoyed the holidays with the family, with the friends. Hope you guys all had a nice holiday as well. But we are back and ready to start the year off with a bang. There has been no shortage of insane things to happen in my life personally. I'm going to share those with you guys today. We have some pod mail. I reached out to local government, and we're going to end the episode by starting our own small business. So stay tuned. Before we get into that, something happened to me over the break that is really more often in Mike's wheelhouse. This is an installment of Andrew's Critter Corner.
Whoa.
Oh, nice.
Changing the
That's
format.
Yeah,
New decade, new format.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mike did such a great job, but I think that I could do a little bit of a better job. And so I decided to find my own critter to interact with over the break. And so here's what happened is that the way my bedroom is situated, the window faces the backyard. And the backyard has kind of a slant upward with some vegetation, some bushes, some trees. There's always squirrels and shit running around back there. My dog will jump on the bed and he kind of sees them. I can't see him, but he's got that dog vision where he sees the squirrels, the birds, and all that kind of shit, and he barks at them. And so I know they're out there. But one night, I was in the office, which is actually adjacent to the bedroom. And Emily called me over and she said, "Hey, I'm hearing rustling outside." And so I went over and listened because, you don't want to hear rustling outside your house, especially with the talk of, defending your house and all that we did recently. You gotta protect your castle.
The Bellevue
So,
Strangler.
Did you go and grab a baseball bat or your
Oh, we're getting
Or
there,
your
Kevin.
machete.
Oh, okay.
These questions will be answered. And so I sat there and listened for, 10, 15 seconds. And it was pretty clear that, yes, there was rustling, but it was not human rustling. That was the one thing I identified, which was good because you don't have to go confront a human in your backyard. But then the next question in my mind was, well, okay, then what is it? And in this area here in Bellevue, there's some bobcats that people have seen on their Ring doorbells, or bears, not grizzly bears, but black bears, and there's raccoons, all sorts of shit. But I mean, nothing that's that scary. But there's some, like a bobcat would be kind of I wouldn't want to run one of those necessarily. But either way, I figured I wanted to check this thing out because my yard's actually fenced in. And so I'd be curious to see if something had gotten in, how it got in. But I'm kind of a little bit of a pussy and didn't want to go out by myself. So I basically rang the bell at the house. And so I live with Emily, and we also live with 2 other roommates, Mason and Kevin, and they both live downstairs. Kevin, not McCoy, not the deadly brother, Kevin.
Not me.
And so I gave them a call and I said, guys, there is an intruder in the backyard and we have to defend the house. And so they said, okay, we'll be right there. And so I grabbed my machete because
I wanted. Okay, yes. I was hoping that when you asked them to come join you, that they'd be like, "Man, you know I'm retired, right?" Like,
I don't do that anymore.
no, we got the band back together for this moment. But yeah, so I grabbed the machete because I'm just waiting to use this thing on something. And so we all met at the front door, which is safely outside of the view of the backyard, because we didn't want to approach the backyard until we were all gathered and ready. And everybody had brought something unique. It was like it was like one of those. I can't make an analogy to something that you would recognize, but I think one of them had like a rolling pin or like a PVC pipe or just some like random homemade some homemade defense equipment where if we ran anything that was bigger than a raccoon or even a raccoon, we were probably fucked.
it's like, I mean, the machete sticks out as a real weapon. The rest of it feels like you were trying to film a low budget Mad Max movie.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. And so, we're 3 men that are in our mid to late 20s. But we've never had to defend the home before. So we're all a little bit nervous about this whole situation. And so, like I said, you can't really see the backyard from where we're at. And we kind of do that thing where once we're ready, we kind of all kind of creep over to the side of the house and then slowly peer around to see if we can, because we're still hearing the rustling. We just slowly kind of peer, like in Scooby-Doo, where they all kind of fan out from behind the...
You guys all poked your head out one on top of the other.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we still heard the rustling. We didn't see anything. We're like, okay, well, it's obviously not something big enough for us to see right away. So that's just a relief right off the bat. So then we decide, we're getting a little more courageous. We got a lantern, like a physical lantern that like an old crypt keeper would carry around as he's walking through.
Yeah, really great for spotting specific things in the woods.
Diving into the Scooby-Doo theme.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it was doing more harm than good, I think, because it's a lantern. So it's not projecting out in one direction. It's actually blinding you in your eyes because it's so dark that you're just getting all this light into your eyes. And so we're creeping with the lantern, one hand on the machete, one hand on the lantern. And now we're walking back towards the backyard and we hear the rustling stop. And then we're like, okay, well, we must have gotten close and kind of scared it. And so we open the gate, look down, and sure enough, a little rat starts scurrying away. And now I'm like, this is a true McCoy Critter Corner story, is that I've now encountered a rat in my house. Fortunately, not in my house, but in my backyard. And so what happened is that it scurried off. And the way the house is set up is that there is an upper level and there is a basement. And the basement actually has 2 bedrooms that face the backyard, but they're underground. However, they do have a window each. And the way that it works is that there's basically a little cutout in the backyard that kind of steps down into their window. So you can't really see that much. It's kind of like a little porthole essentially, but there's essentially a little step down into a window. And sure enough, we had scared the rat and he had fallen in the little step down in the window. So it's basically like a little, homemade rat trap effectively. And so he's down in this little hole. And now we're thinking, okay, well, now what? And it's this weird situation where I think you face this as well, Kevin, where it's like, okay, well, we have the rat. Now what do we do? Because
it's the worst feeling. You're like, okay, success, but also what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like I didn't plan to make it this far. I thought we were just gonna scare it off or something of that nature.
You got your friends, you got your home like ragtag gang members out there thrown together, and now you finally got the bounty, which is this captured rat. And like, holy shit, what do you do?
Yeah, it's so ironic because we got the thing that we wanted the whole time, but now that we have it, we don't want it anymore.
I just wanted to walk around with a PVC pipe and look cool. I didn't sign up for this.
I just wanted to defend my home with a machete, goddammit.
I wanted to get a bunch of weapons with my friends and go get spooked by an animal in the backyard, and then run away.
And then it's like, well...
It's my turn with machete.
Oh, I don't want the PVC pipe.
I get that every time.
It came to this point where it's like, I didn't really want to harm a creature or a critter in this case.
Yeah.
Especially in such a hand-to-hand kind of way.
Oh, I know. It becomes so very physical and real once you get to that point.
Yeah.
Like, every interaction from where you're at is directly with the creature.
Exactly. But the alternative here is that he's stuck. Like, he's not getting out of that thing. It's probably a good, 2.5 foot drop, and it's just kind of brick. Like, the whole thing's surrounded by brick. And so he's not getting out of there. And so the other alternative is that we just kind of let him sit there and he'll die over time, but he's going to like scratching at the window.
Set up a camera on the inside, get a little time lapse.
Yeah. Some real sadistic, fucked up shit.
It is really fucked up.
So my thought was that, well, I don't want a rat hanging around the house. They're kind of known for carrying disease. We probably should get rid of it now that we have it. We don't really want it back here, especially because I have a dog and all that. And so I'm like, well, we have a machete, so we didn't do it. We didn't kill we didn't do it. So, because in my mind, that was my first thought. And I'm not sure we can analyze that, but I don't know why that was my first thought. It was just to take the machete and just hack it up.
You'd go with the mouse disposal shovel.
The mouse.
We did last
That was
summer.
another option too. Last summer.
Oh, the mouse catching adventure that Mike and I were part of.
Oh yeah,
cabin,
no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was the shovel disposal method, which was,
I remember that.
smashing them with a shovel in the driveway.
Yeah, that was an option, but
all of us inside were just hearing like one hit and then another and then another.
Wasn't that after a wedding too?
No. Probably
okay.
we were just like trying. It was for Chris's birthday.
Okay, that's fine. It would just be funnier if it was like after a wedding and you're like all in nice clothes and there's like someone killing rats in the background.
That would be so silly.
Well, the funny thing was that, so the rat's sitting there in the hole, and then we're all sitting around not really knowing what to do, and then Mason makes a move, and he goes and reaches for the shovel, and then I said, Mason, I'm so glad that you're the one that's going to do this, because I didn't want to harm the rat. Like, I don't have it in me to do this. He's like, what? No, I'm not going to hit it. I'm just going to put this in there so it can climb out. And I was like, oh, we're just going to let him climb out? I guess that's okay. And so we just, we leaned the shovel down there, kind of gave him a little ramp to climb up. And then we just walked inside. And then the next day I walked out, the shovel was there and the rat was not. So we saved a life that day. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I think if I was in your position, I would have used the dog as the weapon and just let them deal with it.
Oh.
Because my dog has killed a couple of rats, and she just leaves the evidence, and then I just clean it up. I'm not a part of it.
Isn't there a possibility of your dog getting sick from something like that? Though?
Yeah, I mean, the rat would have to bite him, and I think the possibility that's pretty low, given that they're being chased by the dog, not attacking.
Well, I mean, there's some dogs that are specifically bred for killing rats.
Yeah.
Golden Doodles are not one of them. So I think that option was off the table right away.
He probably just look at you like, you want me to do what?
Yeah. So the rat was saved, and that's an update from Andrew's Critter Corner.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great.
We have some pod mail.
Very visual story.
Yeah, I hope you can envision that with the Scooby-Doo crew.
I saw
around.
every moment clear in my imagination.
Just painting a picture with words for you.
Oh, yeah.
This pod mail, the very first pod mail of the decade, and I have a feeling in my head that this space fan planned this intentionally so that they could have the first pod mail of the decade.
Oh, you think?
This is from our fan Clive from South Africa.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Clive
I haven't
writes
heard from
in.
Clive in a little bit.
It's been a while, yeah. And Clive writes in, he says, "Hi, Pod Epics. Fingers crossed, or happy 2020. Fingers crossed, it'll be an awesome one. I took the liberty of checking to see how Bob Barker's been doing since last year. He
Shit,
appears
yeah.
to be alive and well."
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good job, Bob.
So I guess you didn't wind up jinxing him with all of the talk of him dying. Congratulations to Chase for finally introducing his own segment last year. Knew you could do it, buddy. Kudos.
Jason
It only took
Space.
100 episodes. Yeah, Chase in Space. Check that out.
So that's like a compliment burn right there.
Yeah. I mean, it took him a while, but he got there. We're proud of him.
Clive is more or less just like, cheering him on to like get him to have his own segment.
Mm-hmm.
He's encouraging him with a little bit of shame, which is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Shame motivates me.
It's a motivator for sure.
He says, here's an update. My Tinder journey has kind of stalled. Not my fault, I swear. Just haven't been matching with any new people. My last tally puts me at 4 matches. 2 of them are already my friends in real life. What?
Wait, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Oh, like
he,
his
kn-
matches.
he knows them.
Oh,
Yeah.
he already- oh, okay.
Does that happen in Tinder?
It does. It does happen.
Oh,
Where you come across someone you know
Has that happened
See-
to you before, Kevin?
a couple times. Probably 3-4 times at least.
did you match with them?
Sometimes if I wanted to.
It was up to you. They'd already, of course, swiped right on you.
Well, I mean, you can give it a chance either way. But yeah, I would actually, I'd say I probably run across people I know fairly frequently. But yeah, you decide, like I matched with someone recently who I knew in real life. And then I was like, oh, I didn't know you were single. Because when I met her, she had a boyfriend, but, then she shows up on Tinder and you're like, okay, yeah, sure. Why not? Like you were nice enough.
Okay. Is that better to actually have the connection made previously?
It makes the first message a lot simpler. Like getting to a date when you've already met each other is more of a sure thing, I would say. Because like there's kind of like several rounds of luck, I guess, in doing online dating. One is getting that first match, and then the second is getting that first match to a date. Those are 2 different, I think, hurdles you have to go through. But like once you match someone I think pretty much you're guaranteed going to go on a date because you already know that you kind of know what you're getting a little bit more than just matching a random photo.
Well, okay, not to derail from Clive's pod mail here, which we'll return to momentarily, but Jim, have you ever used a dating app?
Not ever. I started dating prior to their existence.
Okay, so same with myself. So over the time that I've been in a relationship, the dating app scene exploded, and I never used really any of them, and especially not Tinder. And all I know about Tinder is basically what I just kind of hear in the social consciousness, but also what I read on r/Tinder, where they're just posting all their funny pickup lines.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So what is your approach, Kevin? Do you go with a funny pickup line? Because the thing is, and I don't think this is anything that's super controversial or salacious to say, is I think in the online dating relationship, the woman holds more of the power. I think if you're a guy, you could spend all day swiping right and probably still end up with just a few matches. It really just depends on if the lady would like to match up with you, which is kind of the premise behind Bumble, I think.
Right.
Right. And so you have to make yourself kind of stand out from the pack because you can't just go in saying something real general. You got to be either funny or attention getting. So what's your approach, Kevin?
Yeah, well, I've done it. I've done online dating for like a long time now. And I'm like, it starts taking energy from you if you're like thinking about it and trying to be clever.
Oh, really?
And you like don't even know if they're even going to reply to your message, or not. Cause like people will match and then kind of afterwards decide, nah. Right. Which is why I said there's kind of like 2 hurdles. So like for the first message, I've made it so that I do 0 thinking. and just see if they're going to reply. And then after they start replying and we're talking, that's when I'll put in effort. So I just came up with a generic first message. I think this is common, but that people do this. But I just send, I say Leslie Knope or Michael Scott ? And then
relatable.
I'll send a GIF of Snape just shrugging, just going, what? What are you doing?
More relatable
You're
pop
like really
culture.
checking all the boxes there.
Yeah, so it's kind of just like it's a very simple question that they can answer. Sometimes people will be like, neither, I choose Jim Halpert or something, and then we start a conversation off of either Parks and Recreation or The Office, which I can talk about. So
Okay, but you're kind of
Start
you're letting
with
them know that you're a safe guy because you like popular sitcoms.
You're starting on common ground.
it's just an easy conversation starter that doesn't require energy from me, and that's all I need. Because then at that point, if someone's, like just getting to the conversation is like what you want to do. Because like before that, it's all just like any effort you put in is likely being wasted. Like I won't even read a profile until after I match now. Like, so when you're swiping, you just go like just gut instinct and do it quickly. Because you're going to swipe on a lot of people one way or the other, and like a small fraction of that is going to match, and a small fraction of that is going to actually respond to a message once you do that. So
It's really interesting. Now, while we're talking shop, you have this preform message. Do you actually type it out every time, or do you have it copy and paste it and you're fucking smashing that paste button?
I put a abbreviation in my phone so that when I type in MIC, it just fills out the rest of the sentence. No, it did not do that at all. I typed
Okay. Even though there's no real difference to the recipient, that just seems like the absolute most mechanical way to go about the whole process.
I know it sucks. Like it is awful, right? Like I'm not saying this is like the way that people should behave. I'm just saying it's the way that I have to behave. Otherwise, it takes so much energy from me. Because if you like read someone's profile and like send a very clever message, like I could literally probably write a book of really funny first messages that I wrote that never got responded to. And like there were things that I thought was funny. There was a couple times when I wrote messages that like I can understand why they didn't respond. Like there was one girl, she had in her profile like, message me if you don't sporadically murder people, as long as you don't frequently murder people. And I was like, my message was something along the lines of like, I think you should set your standards a little bit higher, because what if people just sporadically murder people, or just like instead of
And she didn't respond to that?
Yeah, I kind of made it a rule not to talk about murder in my first message to girls that I don't know after that one, even if it's funny. But yeah.
Live and learn.
Yeah. So there's like a whole bunch of like messages where I just tried to do something funny and like have fun, and then it gets no response, and then you just kind of are like, wow, I kind of like hate this more. After you were like, man, that was really good. Like someone should appreciate that, and to get zero response at all is a little bit disheartening. So I got into the spot where I can be clever after I know they're actually going to talk to me.
Okay. Well, and last question: has anybody ever matched with you because they recognize you from the show?
I mean, I think that's probably all of them at this point. Like,
You think a majority of them? Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's impossible. Like the times that I run into someone who doesn't go, oh my God, it's Kevin from the Podworms. Like that's that part of my life is gone. I'm just now Podworms Kevin. So I don't know. I miss those days. I miss being not recognized on the streets.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, like, you gotta, like, when I go on, I take the bus to work and I have to, like, put a hat on or, like, put my hood up or something so people just don't immediately recognize me.
Right.
And I know that we're on a video call here doing this podcast recording, but Jim, you don't have to wear the hood and the sunglasses with us.
Well,
we know who you are.
Whenever my image is being broadcast on the internet at all, I, like, have to protect it, I don't want people to know I don't want people to see my face.
Okay, fair enough. I respect that. let's get back to Clive's email here, Podmail rather. So we left off. He had 4 total matches, 2 of them with his real life friends, which I think is a pretty good start.
Okay.
He said, I did initiate the conversation with the other 2 women, so I'm doing much, much better than I was last year. I mean, that is a big improvement. It takes some guts to go out there and meet somebody.
Yeah, that's some real positive self-talk. He's like seeing this as this is like a net positive thing, that he's actually talking to people this year as opposed to last year.
Yeah. That's good.
I mean, the new year is a good time to just kind of evaluate and just make small improvements in your life, because over time, those small improvements end up being big improvements.
That's right.
Did you watch that video? I just watched a video that just talked all about that, about new resolution setting and psychology.
No, is it something along those same lines what I just said?
Yeah, it was like word for word what you just said. So,
oh yeah, it's I've heard that before. I mean, it's something that I kind of think about, is that, you know, a small habit, good or bad, really gets amplified over time. And so if you just do one thing that kind of improves your life and just kind of work on that a little bit every day, then over time you'll look back and be like, wow, I'm in a much better place. Or kind of vice versa, where it's like, oh, I'll just go to the kitchen at work and grab an extra treat. And then after a year, you're like, oh shit, that ended up being a lot of weight on me.
Yeah, it's also like one of those things where people don't ever actually make huge changes in their lives unless something really big happens to them. So it's like almost impossible for people to be like, I'm going to do all these huge things, right, to be in the new year. And then they realize that that's not easy. And so it's much easier to make smaller changes.
Yeah.
Did you guys make resolutions this year?
I did.
Oh, let's hear it, Jim. I think I might have one, but I'll hear yours first.
I basically kept the ones that I did for 2019 that I didn't finish, and they're not necessarily like SMART goals. They're not like measurable.
How many goals did you make in 2019 that you had leftovers?
Pretty much all of them.
Well, I mean, I was like looking for a number.
Oh, let's see. let me see the difference. 5.
5 resolutions. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're not long, so they're just like overall goals. They're, like I said, they're not like very measurable. So.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, one, you should tell us what some of your ones for this year are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, exercise 2 or 3 times a week, which is, very open-ended. It could be any sort of exercise, honestly.
Right.
Do fun projects with your hands, like go build something, go draw, write things down, write some stuff. Don't be hard on yourself. Be kinder to people. Meditate once a week, etc., etc. Those are a few of mine.
Nice.
These are some good ass goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is good. I also like that you have them written down. That's like actually helpful.
And I think this year's the first year that I kept the ones I had in a note from last year just so I could compare over time what I actually put down. Because otherwise it's like, I'm going to put this in my head and not tell anybody and never remember it.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so I was watching this video that it's basically if you want to actually stick to a resolution, write the goal down, make the achievement very, very small.
Yeah.
Right? So my resolution is to spend 2 minutes on a treadmill every day, which is even if I'm not feeling it or just don't want to do it at all, being on a treadmill for 2 minutes is really easy to do. So that's the small change. And then once being on a treadmill is a habit, then I can up the goal later. But it's that's exactly what you were talking about, Andrew, a small improvement.
And then, it's that thing. It's well, once you're on the treadmill, you're not going to just get off immediately in 2 minutes. You'll probably stay on there.
Yeah, you're totally allowed to stay on for more. Yeah, but if you do 2 minutes, then you've succeeded, right? You've hit the goal. So making it low so that it's easy to reach, makes it so that you feel successful rather than missing a higher, if it was 20 minutes and I only did 10 or didn't do it at all, because 20 minutes feels like a lot, it's easier to not want to do it. So if it's just really easy, 2 minutes, you're oh, that's so easy. like I have no excuse. Like,
Yeah.
and then go ahead.
Oh, so I heard like one of the pieces of advice that I heard on a podcast or something last year was that, you know, once you can think about doing stuff all you want, but like you only start doing things if like once you actually take an action. And it was like basically like, you know, once you actually move towards your goal and actually take action on it, then you'll actually end up doing it instead of just thinking and planning about it in your head forever. That's a really complicated way of saying it, but because I can't remember the exact like idiom that it was, but it was like, you know, it's like going to the gym. Once you actually get in the car or start walking to the gym or whatever, then you're actually going to go instead of planning out like, this is going to be my workout for this week, and then you never go.
Right.
That makes sense.
That first step. Yeah.
I like those goals. I'd like to. My goals were more kind of focused on, I guess, hobbies as well. Is that I wanted to publish an app to the App Store this year.
Nice.
You know, just because I think that, and we've talked about this before, but this podcast is one of those rare things that that I've talked about that we end up actually materializing. Where there's always a lot of fun ideas that. It's like, oh, that sounds cool. And you work on it for a few days. And then it's like, actually, this is a lot of work. Fuck this.
Yeah. So it's a lot of work to make a grill and bake happen.
Yeah. And a sous vide. That's one goal. Yeah. So I want to publish an app. And that is something that would be really kind of like a benchmark for completion. Because you can sit there and work on an app and have it in like a playable space, you know, spot or whatever, show it to people, have it working to some extent. But if it's not actually published, it's not really finished, and it's kind of just like another thing that I just didn't do. So I want that experience of having something finished where I can say, yep, that is something I actually did.
That's cool.
That's good.
I totally can relate to that because I literally have 3 apps that I've written that are not published. And
Yeah.
they're functional to the point that I was interested in them, but I didn't want to take it through to the end.
Yeah, I also can relate because I probably have like 2 or 3 stories that are in 25 to 75% completion that have never been finished. And it's like, at this point, I'm like, I should just finish this for me. I don't even care if this shit gets published. I'm like, I just want to finish the damn story.
Well, that's an interesting thing with all these, I think with creative endeavors, for I'll just speak for myself here, but when it comes to like a creative endeavor, some of the most fun part is actually kind of like the ideation process at the beginning, like thinking through all the possibilities. That's probably the most fun part because it doesn't require any actual work. You're just thinking about the end result, how cool it would be. Then I think the next most fun part is the beginning because there's all the possibility and the ideas are flowing quickly. Everything seems easy. The shittiest part is like the last 20%, which is like a pretty well accepted number, because that is where everything is the hardest. You're working out all the fine details. You're putting all the finishing touches, which is typically like if you're doing a painting, it's the most like, fine detail, boring kind of just.
Yeah. You're painting the trees in the background. You're not painting the face anymore, right?
Right. It's like you've already done the cool thing you wanted to do, and now you're just kind of adding the shit that is less interesting. But it's that part that's kind of the most important, I think, where the growth really happens, because you're sitting there actually digging through this painful process to get it finished. And that's what I want the experience of, like finishing the thing.
Yeah. That should be the Podworms resolution as a group this whole year, is to finish the thing.
That's the
Let's finish the podcast.
Finish the thing.
There's a meme I saw that like totally relates to this, where it's just 4 boxes, and in each of the boxes is, the first box says get heaps of ideas, the second box says start a new project, the third box says tell people about it, and the fourth one says finish project. And so there's arrows between all the boxes. So get heaps of ideas leads straight to start a new project, which goes straight to tell people about it, which has an arrow that goes towards finish project, but circles around it and comes back to get heaps of ideas.
Well, you know what's funny?
Correct.
The curse in that that chain is tell people about it.
It's true.
Because that's also a really, I think, well-studied psychological effect as well. That's really, I think, often cited in terms of dieting. But I think it works with anything, which is that you get a sense of satisfaction from telling somebody about whatever you're working on because they're probably interested, they're engaged, they're really reacting the same way that they would if you showed them the finished product. Because I could talk to you about the app and say, these are all my ideas. And you're like, oh, that sounds awesome. Versus I could actually hand it to you and you're like, oh, this is awesome. And so I've already gotten that feeling from you. So I don't really even need to continue with it, which is like same as saying, oh, I'm on a diet. And they're like, oh, that's so great. How are you doing it? And then people stop because they've already gotten that satisfaction. And so there's this common, piece of advice, which is that if you actually want to kind of achieve a goal, that you don't talk about it. And I think we've all violated that already by talking about it here on this podcast, but that's okay.
Talking about all of our resolutions already.
Right.
I've got 2 or 3 tips to like how to actually meet a resolution that I learned from this psychology video.
All right.
Which is 1, write the goal down. Very simple. Write it down for sure on a piece of paper. 2, make it like simple and easy to achieve so that you have no excuse. Like, cause you're looking for a small change, not a huge change. That small change will add up to become a huge change. And then the third thing is to track it visually. So like I bought a calendar and I'm Xing off the days on it. Mm-hmm. And visually it's right above my work computer. So I will see it and it'll be reminding me of the goal. And basically you have to create an environment where you're set up to succeed.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, we should check back in on these things. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
They did a study on people like willpower, I guess. And it shows that people who have like are considered high willpower versus low willpower actually have the same amount of willpower. The only difference is the environment that they've set up for themselves. Right?
Oh.
So like if you want to eat healthy, keep healthy food at home and make it easy to get to. Like it's like you put candy out on the counter, but you put vegetables in a crisper drawer, and it's just like all those extra steps add up to I'm going to eat the candy instead. So just make the vegetables easy, make the candy hard to get to. And like all of a sudden that it just like switches it and makes it so that you're in an environment set up to succeed.
I believe
you're basically saying that humans are really visual creatures and we'll just go for whatever's in front of us anyways.
I think it's true. Another one of my goals for this year is to clean my house because it's a fucking pit.
Wait, just one cleaning for the year?
No.
Just clean it once. Make it easy. Just clean it once.
It's a small change that leads to dramatic things.
Oh, okay.
Every day I clean up at least one thing from the room.
Yeah.
And like before I've been like, oh man, I need to clean this room. And I'm like, oh man, it's such a huge task. So I never do it. But if I clean up like one thing every day, eventually it'll be clean. My Julia and Mike came over and they're like, so if you clean up one thing every day, what it'll be like 3 years and this will be clean?
Oh my God.
It's not.
Oh my God.
They're probably not wrong as far as like the number of things, but I obviously will do more than just one but I'm making the habit of
it's like the treadmill.
Yeah, it is like the treadmill.
Yeah, while you're
the strategy does completely work because, if I'm like, this house is dirty, I'll go and be like, oh, I'm going to go, take care of the dishes in the sink and the dishwasher. And I do that, and then I'm like, oh, that didn't take long at all. I guess I'll do this next thing as well. And then you decide whether you're finished or not.
Right. Yeah, okay. Well, and then the best part of it, too, is you feel successful, right? Because the goal wasn't clean the whole room. The goal was clean up one thing.
Exactly.
And so you just walk around, you're like, I succeeded. I did something, and it makes you want to do it again. You want to do it the next day. Yeah.
All right. Well, I feel like we should check back up on these goals at some point and see how we're doing. But let's finish up with Clive's email here. So he's doing better. He's already making small improvements, which is good.
Heck yeah.
And he says, your words of encouragement have been a real help. Thanks, guys. Looking forward to a whole new year of amazing content. I know you won't disappoint. Keep squirming, Pod Bros. Clive.
Thanks, Clive.
Thanks, Clive.
Yeah. So happy to hear things are on the up and up. It's about those small improvements and just stepping out of your comfort zone. And I think 2020, in fact, I know that we're going to have a new a new space fan by way of Clive's new Paramore coming this year.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
So
And we're talking about the band Paramore.
exactly.
Yeah. He's gonna have his own Haley Williams.
If only. So recently, I was at work chatting with my colleagues and my manager, and my manager was mentioning that I don't know how we got talking about this. I think we're talking about how traffic was really congested in some area around where somebody lived, and we said, or someone said, "Oh, they should just put in some like more traffic lights or some traffic circles or something." And then my manager chimed in. He said, installing a traffic light costs $1 million per light. And immediately me and my the guy who's next to me, we looked at each other with this very dubious that doesn't sound right.
It's a very, very round, very perfectly even number.
$1 million a light.
And so
is that per, like, is red $1 million and yellow $1 million?
Yeah. And if you want green, that's another $1 million.
yeah, so are we looking at like the $1 to $5 million range for each traffic light fully installed? And so we immediately called him on it and we said, I don't think that sounds accurate at all. And so because of the power of technology and the fact that we were sitting in front of a computer avoiding doing work, we Googled information about how much it costs to maintain traffic lights in the US. And it was something like $20 million for the US per year. And that's all installations, all repair, everything bundled up. So obviously there's more than 20 traffic lights in the US. So this figure of $1 million.
No, they only install 20 per year, Andrew. and they work forever.
And they do no repairs on any of the existing ones.
Because if you spend $1 million on a light, it's not going to fucking break down. Yeah.
Never.
No.
Well, maybe that was the case. So, but he was not accepting this as reality, even though we had pulled up the .gov. What the fuck am I saying?
The Got Dove.
It's
Got Dove.
Dove Soap's new campaign.
Got Dove?
Got Dove. The .gov website. So this is not some, homebrewed shit. This is from the government. And so I said, show me your source, cite your source. Where did you hear this? And he says, my wife spoke with the mayor of Snoqualmie, which is where he lives. And I said, she spoke with the mayor of Snoqualmie. How and where and why? And so I guess that there was some discussion about some new traffic light in the town and that they were corresponding at like a town hall or some shit like that. I don't remember exactly the details, but the point was that he says, this is from the mayor's mouth to your ears. And I said, okay, are we talking about the current mayor? And he said, yep. And so I looked him up on Google. And I said, okay, Matt Larson, this guy? He said, yep. And I said, okay, I'm going to write this guy an email and get to the bottom of this because there's
no way. I love this.
There's no goddamn way that he told you.
You're fucking writing the mayor to solve an argument.
I'm so excited to hear this now.
Well, I mean, I got to go straight to the top. I mean, this guy is saying that it's going to cost $1 million per traffic light. Like, what's he doing? Is he taking all the taxpayer money and spending it on a new yacht? Or, because he is.
I would believe 1,000. I would even believe 10,000. 100,000, no fucking way. But $1 million, absolutely not.
Yeah, there's no damn chance. And so his email is publicly available because he's a mayor. Yeah. And so I wrote him an email from my personal email. I wasn't hiding behind some BS email. And I wrote him, I said, hello, Mr. Mayor. I hope this finds you in good health. I regret to inform you that I have heard some very concerning news from an incredibly reliable source about the cost per installation of a traffic light in our great city of Snoqualmie. As an upstanding citizen, by the way, I don't live in Snoqualmie. As an upstanding citizen and taxpayer, when I learned that installing a new traffic light costs in the neighborhood of $1 million, my heart nearly stopped. Good Lord. I have it on good authority that this figure was provided by someone in your office, and I would greatly appreciate some light to be shed on this figure. Please help ease my mind. This simply can't be true. I did some cursory research. Yeah, go ahead.
Not you. Not only did you write the mayor, you made up a character who's an uppity Snohomish citizen
Who has nothing better to do but email the mayor about traffic lights.
like not even just say, hey, how much do traffic lights cost? Email. You're already the angry citizen of something that you don't even believe is true.
You nailed this character.
Okay, so I said this simply can't be true. I did some cursory research and found traffic lights to be far cheaper from www.amazon.com. Please see example. I appreciate your prompt response. Cordially, Andrew Taylor Leclerc.
Wait, did you say please see example?
Yes. And so I found a traffic light on Amazon.com and I'll share it here with you guys in this this video call, and we'll put it on our social media as well. But I found it's called the Fun Express large blinking traffic light. And
Oh no.
and it's basically some shitty $26 decoration for like a kid's room. Perfect accessory for kids' room, college dorm, and dens. Great decoration for parties. It's got a 53-inch power cord, which might actually cut it. And so I sent this off and got a good reaction from the coworkers. Cause I read this out to them because I didn't think I was going to even write the email in the first place. And then we said, well, that is going to go into the black void that is email, and we're never going to hear back, especially because my character was so obviously like trolly. And I sent that at 10:42 a.m. At 11:34 a.m., less than 1 hour later, I see the notification. Matt Larson at snoqualmie.wa.gov has written me back.
Gosh.
And he has CC'd two other people who one of them is like the planning manager and the other person is like the city manager or something, like two other managers in the Snoqualmie government.
The problem, the funniest thing to me is they probably believed every word.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
They absolutely get this kind of ridiculous nonsense every day from a real person.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess so. So,
Like
listen,
it's such, your troll is not even like interpretable as a troll.
Well, that was kind of the goal.
Thing. Nobody ever know the difference.
So then, less than 1 hour later, he writes me back and he says, Mr. Leclerc, thank you for bringing your concerns to my attention. Unfortunately, the Fun Express large blinking traffic light system does not meet the commercial demands of modern public traffic signals. Please see the manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, MUTCD, located at mutcd.gov. Costs are high due to the need to comply with these standards through proper and detailed designs, materials, and installation. Robust and properly designed signals protect cities from potential injury and death lawsuits that could quickly far exceed $1 million. Lastly, the vast majority of the costs of installing traffic signals in our fair city were paid for by developers and grants. Very little was paid for by Snoqualmie taxpayers. Have a happy new year, Matt Larson.
Wait, so is he backing up the $1 million per?
Oh, he is.
He's not denying it. But, I found this to be, the fact he responded in less than an hour, that's pretty amazed. Also, I forgot to tell you that the subject of my email was question from a concerned citizen, all caps, concerned. And so he wrote me back and I was like, wow, this is a goddamn great mayor. And so I had to tell him that just his correspondence to me meant so much. And so I wrote back and I said, salutations, Mr. Larson. Thank you kindly for your response. It was received loud and clear. The safety of the public is of an utmost priority to me as well, as no one loves the citizens of Snoqualmie more than myself. After reading through the MUTCD, it became clear to me that I was whipped into a frenzy over nothing. Your assuring but stern stance on this issue has made it abundantly clear why you were voted 2017 Best of the Valley City Councilor or Mayor. All the best to you and yours, Andrew T. LeClaire.
Wow.
Wow, this is
Wait, so what did you go to MUTC whatever and like try and do some research to like really back up that it's $1 million?
No.
No. You just wanted to have fun with the mayor of Snoqualmie.
Yes.
what it sounds like is that it did cost $1 million, but the city paid a fraction of that,
Something like that, yeah.
and the rest of it came from transportation grants and the developer.
So here's what happens. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
In my head, I'm just writing a meme about this, right? Where it's like American citizens, and then it's like, you know, the colons, and it's like everyone's upset that the government gets nothing done, and then the next line would be also American citizens in the colon, and then it would be just like 1,000 pictures of your face. Right? We're just like clearly wasting the government's time.
Andrew T. LeClaire emailing. You know, he probably responded to you so quick because he had that answer ready because somebody else had emailed him at least 20 times before.
Well, you're having similar thoughts to my colleagues. And so I shared these emails with them. And the first thing they said is, number one, he responded so fast, there was no way that was him. That was an assistant or an intern or somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
The mayor's too goddamn busy. And number two, that was probably a templated response because they get this question and they just send out, this pre-made email to just make people happy. And I was not going to take that sitting down. And so I went back to my email and I wrote Mr. Mayor Matt Larson again. So two days later, on January 8th, the first email was on January 8th. I emailed him again January 10th, this time at 2 p.m., so a little bit later in the afternoon. I said, hello again. I hope your Friday has been relaxing so far, though I know with all the good work you do for our city, you have likely been quite busy. I have spent a good amount of time thinking over the last few days about our correspondence. Hearing from you was the highlight of my week. So much so, in fact, I had to share the good news with my colleagues. Regrettably, they take every opportunity to take the wind out of my sails and insisted that the email I received was written by an intern, or even worse, was a template response. In the office, I laughed it off, but I'd be lying if I said I couldn't help but feel a little crestfallen by their suggestions. I respect the office of the mayor, and I understand if time-saving measures must be put in place when corresponding with ordinary citizens like myself. But could you please clear up once and for all if I'd gotten a true response from yourself, Matt Larson? Respectfully, Andrew T. LeClaire.
Oh, yep.
And so this was sent, just for context, January 10th was a Friday. This is a Friday at 2 p.m. And when I sent it, I immediately got a response back. It was a bounce back that he was out of the office on vacation for the next few days. And I was like, well, there goes that fun. He's out of the office. I sent that email at 2 o'clock p.m. At 2:28 p.m., I see that little notification pop up. Mr. Matt Larson, he writes, "Hi, Mr. LeClaire. I can assure you that the response was directly and 100% from me. You can let your colleagues know that you were correct. Have a great weekend, Matt Larson."
Wow.
Hell yeah.
This guy's got... He's
Way
like
to go,
nailing his
Snoqualmie.
half-hour response time for each of these messages.
I mean, he was on vacation and he had to send a response. So, shout out to Matt Larson. This guy is doing good work in the city of Snoqualmie. And sure, they're spending a little bit of money on the traffic signals, but they keep people safe. They avoid those costly lawsuits, and it's all good, right? Props to him.
Yeah. I mean, good work, Snoqualmie.
This guy's going to keep his office next year.
Seriously.
He's got my vote. Don't think I can vote for him, but if I could. Let's end this episode by going a little bit of a flight of fancy. The other day, and by the other day, I mean about 3 months ago, I had got this idea in my head of getting a cotton candy machine.
Okay.
And you might be wondering, why get a cotton candy machine? Well, the answer is that you can just quit your job forever and become a cotton candy salesman. And so here's the way to think about it, is that making cotton candy is, pennies on the dollar. You can get the syrup or whatever it is, the sugar, and make some cotton candy, and you upcharge that shit, because it's just like buying popcorn at a movie theater, is that you're not paying for the actual value of the item. You're paying for the experience, the novelty. Some guys that sell cotton candy even do some dancing with some like cool strobe lights and stuff, really make it a whole spectacle. And I'm starting to think that this is a pretty ingenious way to become a millionaire, because
I think you found that last bastion of the American dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what a bastion is, but you found it.
Well, me either. But here's the thing, is that we're all, white collar guys just sitting on our asses decaying in front of a computer, where we could be out in the public with the people,
Dancing
entertaining,
around,
providing them with a sweet treat, dancing around. And there's no better way than with a cotton candy machine. And so I took a look around, and you can find all sorts of different cotton candy machines. But I think a nice range is somewhere in the $200 to $250 range for a decent cotton candy machine.
That's reasonable.
So that comes with a little bowl. It also comes with a stand on wheels, so you can move it around from location to location. Because what you might find is that one corner of the street is better at one time of day than another. Maybe outside the place for lunch, where people are going after, during work. Maybe by the pier. You can move it around and make the business however you want it. But I found that there's this website, gmpopcorn.com. I think they sell basically like fair food, or they're like a vendor for people who supply that kind of food, like popcorn, funnel cakes, shaved ice, all that kind of stuff. And they have a profit calculator. And so this helps you calculate how much money you could be making from your small business, like this this cotton candy machine, for example. And so there's a few metrics in here that you have to kind of fill out. And so, they have some examples of the most popular items sold. I guess we can check that out first. So here's what they have. They have popcorn as their number one, right? So this is just the basic opening package. And so the suggested retail is $1. And their high retail is $1.50. And I'm not sure if these figures are from like the 1960s, but where I'm from, you can multiply that by about 6 or 7 times and get to the real price of popcorn. And so I think that right off the bat, these figures are far too low. They have cotton candy. Again, suggested retail, $1. Have you ever bought a cotton candy for $1?
No, never in my life.
No. Exactly.
Not when I was a wee infant.
But so what we can do here is that we can go ahead and safely take in some figures from this little chart here, because what it does say is that per cotton candy, you are going to spend about 14 cents on what they call floss sugar. And that's that stuff they pour in there that gets all spun up and into the little web.
Right.
So 14 cents in the floss sugar and 2 cents on the little cotton candy cone, the paper.
Is that
cone.
like 14 cents a carton, or like 14 cents per thing of cotton candy that you make?
Per unit of cotton candy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And so when we come back to the calculator here, we have a few different figures. You have the retail price, you have the supply cost, which you're going to be subtracting from the whole thing.
Yeah.
The number of servings per day, the days you're open per week, the weeks you're open per month, and then, of course, what's the next one? You guys know it. Months you're open per year.
Per year, yeah.
Goddamn right. It also notes here that the average month has 4.3 weeks. So
4.3. All right.
Is cotton candy a year-round business?
Well, that's what I want us to decide.
Where we live, but
Well, here's what I want us to do. We are now the Podworms cotton candy producers. I want us to figure out, what we can charge, what we can make, because again, we also have some brand recognition. We're not just selling cotton candy; we're selling the Podworms brand.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's just going to bring people out, just by default. And so first, we know the supply cost. And so the supply cost is going to be 16 cents because that's what it's going to cost for each unit. And I
disagree just because I've been pushing for those bags that have our faces on it to put the cotton candy in, and I think that'll up it a little bit, but it'll help sales. So I think we should up our supply costs a little bit just for some marketing.
Because we're gonna want to like be able to make like the fresh cotton candy straight out of the bin, and then we're gonna be able to want to sell the cotton candy in the bag, which has our branding on it.
Yeah, and the thing is, if it has our faces on it, collect all 7, right? Like people are gonna want to buy it. You're gonna like. It's going to cost more right out the gate, but I think it's worth it.
And they're each in commemorative bags that are only going to be limited release.
And here's a trick, too.
Change them quarterly, too.
Well, what you can do is that we'll make it like McDonald's Monopoly, which is that they don't get to pick the bag, and the chase bag is like 1 in 1,000.
Yeah, that's right.
So all the other ones are equally as common. Like you'll have all 6 within a week's worth of visits, but the chase one
bag
could take you your whole life and you never get it.
Yes.
So then you get these Podworm super fans out here buying tons and tons of cotton candy trying to get that chase bag.
Not that we'd ever want to exploit our super fans, but at the same time, for the extra dinero, perhaps. So,
but I mean, everybody's getting what they want. Like you're at the worst, you're getting some more goddamn delicious cotton candy.
And we probably want to set up like an e-commerce site as well, so that our international fans would be able to order our cotton candy.
Okay. Now we're thinking, but that's gonna be initial cost. All the site to kind of ramp up the website. But that's good for thinking down the road, for sure.
It's worth it.
Okay, so let's just assume here that we have, 16 cents is for the most basic bottom of the barrel cotton candy. We're going to up that to what? 30 cents per cone?
Yeah, because of the specialized face bags.
Okay, right. Because we're selling a premium product. Okay.
And I'm sure the bags don't cost anything either.
So now again, we're selling a premium product with a brand behind it. What should the retail price of 1 unit of cotton candy be?
$4.50.
I was going to go $5.50. I think Kevin's more on the mark, though.
I think we're going to split the difference and go straight $5.
$5?
Yeah. I think 5 is pretty... Actually, no, we'll go $4.99 because people see that 4 and they're more likely to buy it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's still $5, but the 99 cents really gets them. Okay. So $5, $4.99, the price. We're going to sell it for 30 cents. Now, the question is, how many servings are we going to do per day?
So how big is the stand? Like, how long does it take to do one?
I think we can do one in 2 minutes.
All right, let's make 3.
Wait, 3 sales per day?
It's...
of our premium cotton candy product.
Let's limit the production so that the demand just goes fucking out of the roof. We can start charging more than $4.99.
Okay, so you're saying that we have to charge much more than... Okay, well, all right. So 3 servings per day. It's pretty slow. That is basically...
That's some super slow business right there.
That's gonna be tough, but
we could start charging kind of like those frozen frappuccinos I saw on eBay.
Oh yeah, like $5,000 a pop.
$10,000 per.
Well, okay, so I mean, $5 a sale, 3 sales a day. I'm guessing the next question of how many days we're open a week. 7 is gonna have to. I mean, if there's 8 days, we'd have to go with 8.
I mean, I'm not working on the Lord's Day.
Oh, we got 6 days. We're doing 6 days, 3 sales a day.
Yeah, and then Saturday's kind of like also my second.
Oh my god. So 5? We're doing a 5-day work week?
We're gonna have to.
Yeah, I don't want to burn out too quick.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Business is,
okay.
It's rough out there.
What we haven't thought of is that we won't. I don't think we'll be able to sell cotton candy every single day, locally because it's the middle of winter. People are looking for cotton candy. We can't make that outside. We need a shelter and all that stuff.
Yeah, the truth is there's really only 1 month a year that cotton candy's in high demand in Seattle.
That's right. And that's July, right?
Yes, July. Everyone knows cotton candy month in Seattle.
So maybe we should rejig this whole thing for 1 month of sales.
Okay.
It's a seasonal business.
And I think because of that, we have to capture the most amount of money possible. And so I think our retail price, we should double it. $10.
Double it.
$10.
$10.
$9.99. $9.99. And we're only thinking about July. In July, how many customers? If you're making one every 2 minutes, do you think you got a line that's just out the door all the way around the block in July?
Yeah.
Premium cotton
So
candy?
you're saying we should make like 6 a day then?
And
At least.
maybe we expand our operation a little bit, and because it's only a month, each of the 7 of us has our own cotton candy dispenser, and we're at different locations around the area.
Okay.
And is Chase just hiding?
Yeah, and Chase Chase doesn't have to.
Right. Oh, he has his own, everybody has their own bag with their face on it.
That'd be amazing. we're all still out there selling. And like Chase's job is just to have like one under a leather jacket and just be sprinting everywhere like the whole day. And people have to like tackle him to actually be able to buy something.
Dying of
from him.
heat stroke. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
The rest of us can chill out and like sit down and relaxedly sell our faces on cotton candy. Chase has to be in the middle of an action movie. Constantly
He's working
for the entire day. Yeah.
Okay.
Down alleys, over ledges, like
He's just
landing off a
parkouring around the
building
city.
into like a big garbage bin after jumping off the top of a building. That sort of shit, just all day long. Jumping over the hoods of cars, you know.
Yeah,
that I
he's
think
Jason
will
Bourne.
really up the market. Like, and so I think Chase's bags should cost more too.
Okay. Well, so let's just assume
Actually-
for the average vendor here, was per stand, because we can multiply this by 7. But so per stand, $10 a pop. I'm saying you could probably find at least 10 customers an hour. Right? 10 customers. That seems reasonable. Maybe some
One
slower,
every 6 minutes?
some more
I
busy.
think 10 customers an hour is more than reasonable.
And we're putting in an 8-hour workday because we only have 1 month to work. So I think
Right.
80 customers a
It's
day.
cotton candy month in Seattle. If you don't sell 10 an hour, you're fucking not doing it
Yeah,
right.
you're not in
It's
business.
easy money. Okay. Now, weeks you're open per month, we're doing the full 4.3. We have to.
Sure.
All of July hitting it hard. Okay.
Yep.
Months open per year. Now, this is where we have to take it down to 1. A modest 1 month per year. Okay.
Uh-huh.
The profits have been calculated. I have the envelope here in my hand.
All right.
All right.
The profit per item is $9.69. Hell yes. Cents. So
Nice.
that's just per single cone of cotton candy sold. Now, here's the kicker. The monthly profit from one Podworms cotton candy stand, keep in mind, there's going to be 7 of them. The monthly profit is $16,666.80.
No.
$16,000,666.80 per stand. Per stand.
What's our per diem though as employees?
Well, we just split the profits 7 ways.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay,
that feels
all right.
good.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that in the month of July, we're getting these goddamn cotton candy stands, and we're gonna make some hay while the sun shines.
So what's our take? Split 7 ways.
From I don't know, we have to ask the math major here in the call. 16,666 divided by 7. Oh, he's getting his calculator out. This is not what you paid money for at UW.
He had a calculator ready next to his microphone.
It's my phone. Like my phone has a
Wait,
calculator
you're
on.
saying
Oh,
you don't have
no.
just like a Texas Instruments like
It looks like a
making this-
TI-87 over there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a TI 2003. That's about $2,400 for each of us.
Per stand.
$23.80 and 86 cents technically.
Per stand, and that's a month's work. That's not bad.
I 100% think this is an actionable idea. And you know what? This is now my New Year's resolution, is to create the cotton candy stand business that this podcast deserves. If you would like to buy some premium cotton candy from one of us, please let us know. pwspacecast@gmail.com. We will ship some to you with a slightly high upcharge. Keep that in mind. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we have all the social medias, Podworm Spacecast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have a website, pwspacecast.com. And if you like this show, you got to let somebody know, a friend, a family member, a construction worker. Please let them know about the show. We love having more space fans in the crew. And as always, space fans, until next time, keep squirming.